Good evening and welcome to the Friday's edition of the Regional News. We start with news from Brazil. Brazilian President Luiz Lula da Silva has been diagnosed with mild pneumonia and will delay his departure to China until Sunday. The president underwent tests in the hospital in Brasilia on Thursday night, and his Friday schedule will be cancelled. Lula was initially supposed to leave to the Asian country on early Saturday for a visit to refresh his ties with Brazil's largest export market. He will be accompanied by a large delegation that includes half a dozen cabinet ministers, plus governors, lawmakers, and 240 business leaders, from which over a third are from Brazil's farming sector. Lula will also visit Shanghai later in the week. We now look at news coming out of Jamaica. A cleric arrested in his native Jamaica and extradited to New York to face state terrorism charges on accusation of recruiting support for the Islamic State group has been sentenced to 18 years in prison. Abdullah El Fasal was convicted in January in State Supreme Court in Manhattan on counts of including soliciting or providing support for an act of terrorism. The state law he was prosecuted under was put in place after the September 11, 2001 attacks, and the prosecutor said his case was the first state-level trial on terrorism charges. El Fasal was extradited to New York City in 2020 after being arrested in Jamaica in 2017. Beginning in 2016, authorities said an undercover officer in New York City posed as a would-be jihadist and started communicating with the cleric. The cleric was accused of giving out information to help the officer ultimately connect with the Islamic State group. Prosecutors said El Fasal had supported the Islamic State organization for several years. They said he was very influential, using online lectures to encourage violent acts and advocating for an Islamic caliphate. He had previously served prison term in Britain after being convicted of incitement and stirring racial hatred, and had also been deported from Kenya. And finally, we close with a story out of Trinidad. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says it could not be further from the truth that he is trying to get rid of the Director of Public Prosecution. Dr. Rowley stated that there is no action of the government, no intention of the government to interfere with the DPP's work in his office. One of the DPP's biggest issues raised is lack of staffing for his office. Dr. Rowley said the government is also considering bringing in foreign lawyers to staff the DPP's office, since the good lawyers are in private practice and the lawyers fresh out of law school are not experienced enough. He added that the bulk of the DPP's work in the court on matters, especially major matters, will have to be done by certain experienced lawyers. Thank you for watching. I'm TIANA.